And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to the Intellectual Thought Corner. My name is Angie Card. And if you follow my blog, I typically do a lot of blogging, but every now and then, when there's a hot topic, I like to bring someone on to help me carry the topic along so that people get the right perspective on how to think about some of these topics. So today, we're talking about should Republicans support candidates that run in deep blue districts. And to help me out with this discussion, I have with me congressional candidate Joe Collins from District 43 in California. How you doing, Joe?
I'm blessed. How are you?
Good, good. Blessed is always good. I feel blessed too.
Wonderful.
So you and I, we had a chance to meet last year, and I thought that you were a very genuine guy, and I really liked your campaign where you just kind of called it for what it needed to be. Like, okay, you don't live in your district, and this is what it looks like. And then this year, I had a chance to catch your new campaign video where you're like, Maxine, I'm back. And so she's like, "You're not getting rid of me that easily." And I love that determination. And I think it's determination like that in these predominantly blue districts that really can make an impact. But obviously, there has to be effort, right? So let's, before we get into our topic at hand, though, I wanted to, you ran on last year that you were a veteran. So I wanted you to tell people a little bit about yourself and how your service helped you to be prepared for running for Congress.
Okay. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran. Of course, served 13 and a half years in the military, and I actually ended my military career to get involved in politics. And it's a lot that went along with that. I'm from South Central Los Angeles, born and raised. So this district that I'm running in is extremely important to me. Running here is important to me. Doing what I can to create value and create opportunities for the people who live here is important to me as well. And it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent. I think everybody in urban America is struggling, and that's why it's important for us to come back and be the leaders that people need and be the change that everybody wants to see. Um, my house was shot up in a drive-by whenever I was in high school. Got involved in gangs. I actually grew up in gangs, and so gang life was normal to me until I moved out of California, out of Los Angeles, then realized that gang life is not a norm. And we moved to Texas. I finished high school in Texas, joined the U.S. Navy, and I didn't even join the Navy because of patriotism to this country. I joined the Navy because I was trying to holler at the recruiter. 17 going on 18 years old, fresh out of
Mhm.
high school, going to college and working at Walmart at the same time. When I saw her, I'm like, oh, she's extremely pretty. She had the white suit on, didn't know, what it is that she was doing recruiting or, in the military.
So you
And
fell in
which
love with the girl, and that's what made you go into the
I
Navy.
don't think falling in love, but I think having big young eyes were what was the predominant force of me joining the military. But she hit me up the next day and was like, "Hey, you can come have lunch with me at the office." I'm like, "Yes," and I went to the office. We had Whataburger. Next thing I know, they're uh, offering me a job, telling me I could do all these amazing things, and I was like, "Okay, I'm down for it. Let's go, let's roll." And so, everything else is history. But served in the military, got out. I think the leadership aspect of the military is what had me prepare for what I'm going to be involved in politics. It will be leadership as well as, um, the virtues of honor, courage, and commitment being tested and tried. I am a combat veteran. I served Operation Iraqi Freedom, boots on the ground in 2008. I recruited, ran the number one recruiting station in NRD Dallas for 3 years, number two in the nation. Worked at the Naval Aviation Safety Center component of my command and the helicopter squadron for the last 2 years. I was a sexual assault and rape victim advocate. I'm a licensed financial counselor, financial planner, estate planner. I'm licensed in 6, 7 different states, California being one of them. So that was important to me, financial literacy, and also sit on the board of a few economic development companies. And so economic development is important to me as well. And I have a government contracting company also. And so, creating entrepreneurship, financial literacy, rebuilding infrastructure, all of those things are important to me. And those are the things that, we kind of ran on in this past election outside of doing what was necessary in order to get our name ID to match Maxine Waters in a certain amount of time. We had 1 year, actually a couple of months, because I fired everybody after the primaries and picked up a new team. We caught our rhythm around July. So that time frame to November versus Maxine Waters, over 47 years in office in the Los Angeles area altogether, and which was a pretty insightful race. Learned a lot, had a lot of issues, learning curves, a lot of ups and downs, but overall, it was still a blessing to be a value to the community that I actually grew up in.
I like that. And we're going to get more into your opponent a little bit later
Hmm.
in this conversation because I do have a couple of questions for you sort of about that situation with Maxine Waters and more specifically some of your running points that I think is very valid for a lot of constituents to think about when they're choosing their representatives. So we're going to get into that, but let's get into this conversation. And I'm not going to CNN this, all right? I'm not about to frame a narrative, right? But what I am going to do is kind of address some popular conversations that are going on in the conservative circle. Now, before I do that, I want to just say hi to James and I want to say hello to Marshall for joining us and anyone else who joins us. Welcome to this discussion. I hope you find something valuable out of it. So, we're talking about this conversation. And I think that it's very interesting because I find that these conversations tend to be kind of targeted, to certain Republicans. I'm not going to lie, and when I see the targets, and I see who, is, doing the shooting, obviously, I don't want you to get into Republican drama and Republican spats, but I would like for you to address some of these talking points because I
Yeah.
find that they are more discouraging to people like you to make the effort. So the ongoing conversation amongst popular mainstream Black conservatives specifically is that Republicans should not support candidates like you running in districts that are predominantly blue. What is your
Mhm.
opinion about that?
I think popularity amongst ignorant people is not popularity. That's just personal opinion. One of the biggest issues that I have is you see these people and they spew all this rhetoric, and I think one of the biggest things is because they want to be the number one black person for the Republican Party, the conservative movement, and everything. And that's just not what it is. One of the biggest things that is disappointing about it is they use cities like mine, communities like mine, issues like the people who I interact with on a regular basis, though I grew up with my family members, in fact, to make their talking points about how bad Democrats are. And now, when you have people who are actually from these communities who have been conservative longer than these, fly by night conservatives who got popular riding other people's coattails come out and start speaking against their have troops, then they get upset and they want to target that person. Well, he doesn't believe in me, and yada 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 yada. And they have an entire white base. Their base is predominantly white, and they believe everything that these people say because it makes their white base feel comfortable about the things that they already believe. They believe that in the inner, just make good decisions if you're in the inner city. Don't talk back to the cops. Follow this, follow that. All this
Right.
ridiculousness. And I hate the concept. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps and make better decisions, because if you ain't got no boots, how you gonna pull yourself up by your bootstraps? And if your only influences are gang members, rappers, and athletes, what type of decisions are you going to be making? You're going to be making the decisions based off your day to day influences. If you live in a poverty stricken city, or you have a poverty stricken mindset, then that's all you know. So this rhetoric
Absolutely.
that they speak is ridiculous. And the thing that I hate about it, and I've said this plenty of times, this is why I became a target. And I don't care about being a target because I'm self-made. I stand on my own 2 feet, and I've been homeless before. I've been broke before. So if I lose something, I don't care because I can always build it back up. I hate when people talk about how Democrat policies destroy my communities. Right? I'm not going to say their communities because they don't live there. They
Right.
destroy my community, South LA, the Bronx, Chicago, Miami-Dade County, Dallas, Texas, San Francisco, Oakland, all these places that are predominantly black. They make all this money, go testify in front of the House. They have all these events in front of all these people, when they talk about how policies destroy our communities, and they put an emphasis on the 94 crime bill, subjecting people to mass incarceration and these extended sentences, which is true, but every time it's a black person who gets killed, these same people who just made millions of dollars by talking about how these people were subjected to Democrat policies are the same people who come back and say, well, they had a criminal background, so their death is less valuable, or they deserve to die, trying to justify their death because they were killed by a white person or a cop or something like that by using their criminal background. And my
I
thing is,
disassociate myself from those type of Republicans too. And I'll tell you why,
yeah.
because when it comes to the Black conservative movement, and I consider you more of a conscious Black conservative, because not only can you speak about Black issues, but you live them, and you
Mm-hmm.
live them to some of the more extreme degrees. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that you have to come from the hood to be able to resonate with Black people, but when I hear conservatives talk about people like you should not be trying to make the attempt in predominantly Democratic, districts, I kind of go back to their efforts. Now, if we want to get technical about things, right? You did not, you were not able to be successful your first run. Kim
No, it was
Clayton.
extremely successful. We were extremely successful. And that's the
Well, in
thing.
terms of win or being able to flip it, in terms of being able to flip the district, you didn't do
So
that, but you
let
did
me let me
create
let
the
me let me
traction.
let me explain it. Okay, so our district, like what we grew up in, because a lot of people, even when it comes to the point that don't run in a heavy blue Democrat district, just because we conservatives don't mean we're about to move to Florida or move to some other conservative area and run. Like our districts are important to us. So South Central Los Angeles was a D plus 54, no Republican presence. The reason why I say we won and we flipped the district is because what I did, what Kim did, what a lot of conservatives across the United States who are running in inner cities did is something that these people who talk about it can't never do. We went from a
Hmm.
D plus 54 to a D plus 24. Now imagine if we were in a D plus 24 district. That's 30 points. That means we win by 6 points. Nowhere across the United States have anybody moved the needle 30 points. I did
Right.
it. Kim moved hers 20. You got a lot of people. Carla Spalding, she's in the Democrat area. She barely lost by 10 points. You know what I'm saying? So all these people with this rhetoric talking about, oh well, donate to winnable seats or this, that, or they should have took their money and gave someone else. This like you a conservative socialist or a socialist conservative because that's what socialism is. Oh, we're capitalists, right? So we're doing all this work. We literally like busting our ass. Like we out here 4 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the morning, literally, busting our ass, raising money, meeting with people, flying across the United States, trying to build our name ID with considerably no help from these same people who talk that trash all day,
Yep.
right? And so we do things that they cannot do. We build our name ID, we get traction, and the only thing they can come out and say was don't donate to these, don't donate to somebody who has the opportunity to win. Give it to a flippable seat. Take your money, Joe Collins, and give it to somebody else. And my thing is, okay, granted, even if you are a socialist, even if I was a socialist conservative and I made all this money and my district is a D plus 54 and I want to give it to somebody else. If they're in a winnable district, how come they're not working hard enough to win? How come they're not working hard enough to raise
Right.
money? How come they're not working hard enough to build their own name ID? So I ain't got to do it. So you're telling me
Right.
I got to use my effort, use my platform, use everything that I have built, like my castle right here, and give it to somebody who is in a more easier district who are not putting in that same work. And that's the problem. We got a lot of lazy socialist conservatives in our party.
Trying
And
to
talking
ride
about
the
another,
coattail.
exactly. I didn't build my name ID off Trump. I didn't become a conservative in 2016 on a Trump deplorable tour as a goddamn comedian, and now all of a sudden I'm a political pundit after
Right.
after being an officer for 4 years, getting fired because I was making videos ranting about how bad Arizona Police Department is. I didn't drop out of college after suing my high school using the NAACP to say, all of a sudden I'm Trump because he's popular. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then all of a sudden now I know something about some politics. That's not me. I became a
But
conservative in
I'll tell you about
2004.
this. Candace Owens and Brandon Tatum, I'm just gonna put their name on it. I don't want you don't have to put their name on it, but I will. They're the ones who are spearheading this conversation about how it's sort of not valuable to support candidates like you because you're running in districts that are too deep blue to flip. And to your point, sometimes it's not even about flipping the district on the first try. Sometimes, like you said, it's about getting the attraction, bringing that PVI down. You know, if
Hmm.
you're talking about 57 and now you guys have brought it down to 24 or something, that is actually a huge move that the
It
Republicans
is.
should be thinking about. And so when I look at the Republican strategy for 2022 and beyond, obviously you want to look at those low PVI districts and do what you
Hmm.
need to do in those districts, but you also need to be looking at the candidates that ran that were actually able to bring their districts PVIs down.
Yeah.
And I think
But
that that's a very valuable consideration for Republicans when they're talking about supporting candidates. Did they
should
do
be.
the work and actually make an impact? And I can honestly say that you and Kim did.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, it's a lot of haters, but we know how the Republican Party strategy works. You know what I'm saying? We're going to target this seat, that seat, all the seats in rural or urban, not urban, rural or the upper class America, and we're going to leave urban because that's where the stronghold Democrats are, and we can't never flip it. And the reason why is because they never relate to the people who live in those communities. You want to talk about national issues when these people want to focus on how can I get some money to pay my daycare so I can go to work.
Right.
It's not going to work. And then criminalizing people. Oh, all you got to do is just make good decisions and do all this ridiculousness. I think a lot of conversations that I had with people, even over this last election cycle, you got a lot of conservatives telling me, why don't you just tell them this? Why don't you just tell them that? I'm like, why don't you tell them that? If it's so
Right.
important, if you think it's going to work, why is it so blue? Obviously, you got the blueprint. You know what I'm saying? You go tell them yourself. And so,
I'm
trying
like
to get
that too.
conservatives out there is hard. Yeah.
I feel you on that because, a lot of times I think that certain conservatives are conditioned to hearing Black individuals speak a certain way and cater to a certain type of rhetoric that is
Hmm.
more, to me, like you said, appealing to their sensibilities and sometimes their lack of knowledge, and
Yeah.
that is being taken advantage of by, to me, some grifters in the movement as well, because they know that these people aren't going to go as deep into some of the issues within certain at-risk communities like a person like you and I could, so that they can kind of understand and also know what areas to help in. And like I said, I think it's interesting that this conversation is happening, and it seems to be, I see even other little mainstream more popular conservatives popping videos out about why you and candidates like you should not be supported. And it kind of befuddles me because when I think about, when you want to talk about success and supporting success, one could argue that the Blexit organization was a failure because not only did you and Kim raise more money than that organization, not having the clout or the traction, but Blexit really didn't deliver on what it was supposed to do. It was supposed to have the Black folks leave the Democratic plantation and go on to the Republican plantation, and that did not happen. Core Black
Well,
America is still with the
I'm,
Democrats.
I'm going to tell you why it never happened. Because Blacksit wants to be like Turning Point USA. It wants to be like the Student Action Summit.
Hmm.
There has never been an event in the history of Blacksit to where they actually came and participated in the inner city where the majority of African Americans or blacks or whatever you want to call it live at. They have literally never been out here. But then you have the organizer, and I wouldn't even say, I would call them organizers. I ain't gonna say founders because we know they stole that organization from another lady.
They
That's
did
why
do
Kanye
that.
West stopped
I
messing with
covered
them.
that.
Yeah. So you have the organizers, the blacks that coming out and saying, "Oh, don't support them because they're in blue districts." Well, isn't it your obligation to go into the blue districts and do what you said you was gonna do, and that was take black Democrats and move them over to the Republican Party?
Hmm.
Ain't that what you said? No, but instead your base is Latinos, blacks base is Latinos. Your base is, white people, white conservatives who will give you money. Your base isn't black people. I don't see Candace Owens coming to South Central Los Angeles, Brandon Tatum, Rob Smith, any of these people coming to South Central Los Angeles. They stay in front of their base, their safe zone. And I have a problem with that. Everybody out, even when it comes to election for the governor of California, people are who going to win? This person, that person, they don't have a chance in hell. Why is that? They're great. We love them. You might love them. right? Granted, conservative, you might love them. The fact of the matter is California is heavy blue. So conservatives stay in their conservative safe spaces where they already know people are going to agree with them. What about everybody else in California? Independents, your Democrats, your Green parties, your Constitution parties, your freedom of speech parties, your all these different parties where people associate themselves with where conservatives never go. What about those people? That's the reason why, in my opinion, they ain't gonna never win in any districts. You're gonna have to actually go there. I've spoken with people, and I know Kim have as well, who has never seen a Republican in their entire life, and these are seniors. They have never seen a Republican, never spoke to one until we actually came into the district.
I think it's interesting because when I think about just this whole conversation, I couldn't help but thinking, before I even, thought about, having you come on, I'm like, why are we even having this conversation, within the conservative party, in terms of people are actually on a campaign, it seems to, and a lot of this, like I said, I truly believe that a lot of this rhetoric is about trying to control, excuse me, the Black conservative movement and the shakers within that movement, and who is the front place of Black people for the Republican Party. Because when I look at kind of some of the attacks that have been made, even on individuals like Kim Klacik, where these people have gone out on a mission to me to sort of defamate her character. You know what I mean? And then they follow this up with, oh, well, when that didn't work, and I truly believe that did not work because, I saw Candace Owen post a little article about somebody from a Hispanic article wrote basically everything that Candace said in her Twitter feed, repeated the whole thing. And it was kind of like, where are you going with this, honey? All right, because until the FEC comes out with something, you're looking silly as hell. And you're not really looking good for the movement either, because it makes the conservative, especially the Black conservative movement, look very polarized. And it doesn't even look like we support each other. So if people on the outside is looking at how Black conservatives are rocking with each other like this, literally on a campaign to discredit the efforts of other people, what does that do to the Black conservative movement? What does that do for individuals like you?
Well, it doesn't do anything because I don't really care what they say. I know Kim, combats it. I get on there, I troll Brandon, or every now and then, because I know he gets upset. I know his wife always gets on there and talks all that trash. But the fact of the matter is, they don't know anything about politics. They don't know anything about campaigning. They don't know anything about FEC reports. They make all these allegations when they've literally never ran a campaign. They've never taken any leadership classes on running a campaign, never ran for office themselves. Literally, barely just became conservative like a couple of years ago, and just because they think somebody who in their opinion is popular says their name, then all of a sudden they're popular too. And they make fools of themselves, on a regular basis. That's why trolls stay on the internet and they don't come out in real life. They have never came out in real life and said anything to anybody's, face and about the same rhetoric. And so I think for myself, I've been called a grifter so many times. I'm just going to just accept that role, grift. I'm about my money, right? And so I'm not beef with anybody unless I'm be making money about it. That's why I even turned off the thing where people can tag me in a post, because all they do is talk trash. That little group over there talks trash 24/7, and it takes away from the important things that I do on a regular basis. So it's just it is what it is. I accept it, whatever you want to call me, cool, because I got more important things to do. And I even talked to Kim about that as well. Like, stop responding to these people. Let them go and talk, whatever. It ain't going to make a bit of difference, because our supporters know what we do on a regular basis. That's the point in sending emails out. That's the point in sending our text messages out. That's the point in making videos and posting videos on social media, YouTube, whatever. So our supporters, the people who really support us, can go and copy those videos and see what it is that we're doing. The people who talk trash, they don't donate. They don't support any causes. They don't do anything to help any campaigns. These are the guys who spread memes around and go to rallies and talk about how great somebody else is without actively being involved in the fight themselves. And I've asked people plenty of times, what did you do to help, the conservative movement? What did you do to help the Republican Party? What did you do to help President Trump win? And it's nothing. Yeah. they
Talking
don't
about
collect
black people
ballots.
with my black face. I call them
Yeah.
black ops. You know, the black community has a lot of black ops. A lot of
Hmm.
black ops is what I call them. I don't know if you follow Brother Kwame Brown or not, but he called them the go along, get along gang. You know,
Oh, that's my
these
dude.
people, they are very self interest at their heart. But because they have black faces, they talk about black issues, and a lot of their talking points are on point because obviously every black person, a lot of black people are having conversations, but these people are recycling these conversations as if they're subject matter experts on black issues, but then they turn around and they pander to the ignorance of black people,
Hmm.
of black people to individuals that are not black, and then they wonder why they are not resonating. When I think
Yeah.
about, even Trump's numbers last year, I can't even say that that was black because there was a lot of conscious black conservatives like myself actually talking to our people, actually resonating with people at our own local level and even beyond. And we were just pulling out receipts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, shoot, I didn't know Trump was a racist until 2016 because we just had mad ish, black people, we just kicked it with Trump like that. He was in our rap songs,
Exactly.
like, you know what I mean? So I never known Trump as a racist, but I wanted to ask you a couple of questions just to kind of get off of this because we know that there's a lot of haters in the political space, and unfortunately, your haters are going to be on the same damn team as you sometimes, and that it just is what it is. But I like the way that you focus on doing you, and it seems like Kim is on that same program where it's like I'm just going to focus on doing what I can to help the Republican cause.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And so I wanted to ask you though, kind of going back, as you mentioned your upbringing, being a black conservative, right? And one of the things I really try to emphasize with, my people that I talk to is, you have, conservatism is about values, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that you're affiliated with any political party per se, but, I think a lot of black men who are Democrats, right? And I would like for you to at least direct your comments towards, them. What advice do you give black men who have been misinformed about the values of conservatism, and how do you think that they should be approaching their political decision making?
Let me be 100% honest with you. When I go out and I go talk to people in the community, whether it's a Democrat, Republican, Independent, or whatever, I make sure to strategically separate that political party aspect from the conversation. And the reason why is because your political party choice is exactly what it is. It's a choice and it has no relevance or precedence on the economic value that you have in your life, right? So you can be a Republican poor, you can be a Democrat poor, you can be an independent poor. We can all be different parties, but be experiencing the same things. And so this is
Mhm.
what I try to help people understand or make people understand. And once we get that out the way, we talk about real issues. So trying to talk political party to people, I don't even do it. And I've traveled, I've been traveling across the whole entire United States, all the inner cities, and I've been doing it since the election been over. And I haven't had not, one problem yet. I've been received pretty well. So I don't do that whole jaw jacking about whose political party is better, whose person is better. We get straight to the issues. Let's talk about how we're going to improve the quality of life for this community at jobs, education, things that people actually care about.
Awesome. I like that, and I think where I was kind of going with that question too is, when you think about reaching, I find that black men have, are more conservative in their, when they really kind of peel off all the layers of identity that, people like to pile onto them. Would
Yeah.
you say that black men are actually more conservative than we like to admit that they are?
And in my opinion, black men are conservative, regardless of what their political party ideology is. Conservatism is a given. Make our money, celebrate our religion, get the government out of our lives. These are things that black men, relish on a regular basis. Now, whether they register as a Democrat and vote Democrat or Republican is a totally different thing, but the values are always conservative values.
Okay. And then I want to kind of go into, just your surroundings a little bit when you, because in your campaigning, you kind of show your district, and it's looking touched and neglected. Like, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know what Maxine Waters is doing in District 43, um, but it's looking touched. So, what are some of the ongoing issues in your district that, if people do consider you as their representative, what are some of the issues that you want to address right away?
First of all, it'll be rebuilding the district. That's completely off top, and lowering the cost of living. I mean, cutting taxes and cutting the cost for development will significantly improve the quality of life for the people here. It'll get the majority of homeless people off the streets, because any given night, according to Cal Matters, we have between 150 and 165,000 people sleeping on the streets. Los Angeles being the number one hub for homeless people, and 80%, 82, 83% of those people are able-bodied workers. They have an income, they just can't afford to live. You know what I'm saying? So mental health is not the biggest issue with homelessness on the streets. It's the ability to be able to afford somewhere to live. So those are the top two things I would address, and then bring in more jobs and rebuilding a relationship between the community and the police, improving our education system, school choice, trades and vocational training back into our schools. Those are like the top issues that everybody want to see happen. And these are the top issues that we've been working towards ever since I've been in this race. Not even being an elected official, just being in a race and getting involved with the community. But it's a dangerous job, though.
I can
It's
imagine. I
dangerous.
can imagine because you had a problem last year with
Hmm.
some people coming at you sideways during campaigning.
Yeah. Well, Maxine sent some guys with guns to one of our events, and this was a family event. We were doing a back to school drive and food drive, and we were in the Vermont corridor. One of the persons on the campaign set that event up, not being from the district, wanting to do something important, but not knowing that that was the area that you don't go to. You drive through it. You don't conduct business there, because that's where you get shot and unfortunately killed in that area, and you'll be on the ground for hours before the cops even come. That's an extremely dangerous area. And so, she sent some people there, not from, the I guess
How did
community
you
that I
know
grew
she
up
sent?
in.
Now, how did you know that it was Maxine Waters that sent these goons?
Because I get with them on the same level. I'm hyper aggressive. I'm alpha male to the death of me. And so the same energy that
Man,
they brought with
we love
us,
our
we
alpha
gave it
males.
back to, yeah. We gave it back to them, and they wasn't expecting it. But after everything calmed down and we had conversations and everything, kind of got on one accord by agreeing to disagree and talking out our points of views. They actually showed us the emails that Maxine chief of staff had sent to them. They weren't even from the community; they were from like the other side of Watts. That's not even a part of the district, but that's how we found out. They had the
So
emails.
now well, if I can imagine why Maxine Waters has not been contested, apparently she bringing out the guns. The
Yeah, I
goons.
mean,
Is that how y'all playing out there in California? Y'all that
I
dirty?
I didn't know, but I found out. The reason why it didn't happen as much as she would like to was because I grew up in it, So I got family members that started a lot of the gangs on the blood side. I got family members that are Crips and everything, and so it's really hard to press somebody when they actually come from that community. They're from those streets,
Right.
regardless of even if I moved to Texas when I was in high school, joined the military and came back, I'm still from there. My family still has a heavy presence, even in the faith community with my grandfather, rest his soul, being one of the largest pastors and instrumental in the development of the faith community in South LA.
I love it. So, in your campaign video last year, and even in your campaign video this year, and it looks like we're coming up on our time soon too. We got about 10 minutes left, but I want to ask you, um, why is it important? Because you focus on this a lot. Why is it important for you to highlight the fact that Maxine Waters does not live in her district? Why is that important for constituents to know?
I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I did not want to walk in front of Maxine's house. The second time I didn't mind, because I realized that she didn't really live there. It was a show house. But I respect people's privacy, even if I don't like that person. I respect their privacy. I didn't want to walk in front of her house, but I think highlighting the fact that she lives extremely well in a really great, really nice neighborhood compared to how we're living in a district. It was something that people in the community had to see, people across the United States had to see it on a scale that we were able to market and advertise and highlight the fact that she is not living the same as the people she claims to represent. And it was extremely important in the district because people actually thought that she lived in the 43rd district and ran down house just like we do, but she doesn't. She lives in Hancock Park, a very affluent community, right around the corner from the mayor, 3 blocks down, 1 block over. And it's kind of ridiculous. And her slogan is "I fight for you, I fight for everyone." And obviously, that's not the case. But I'll tell you this: with the videos that we've been making, I'm really tired of talking about the issues that goes on in our community. The next time we're gonna take our community to you and have you follow in the footsteps of someone from our community, and we're gonna take them through issues on a regular. Like every quarter, we're gonna be dropping a video and taking through the issues because people have to see this.
So I wanted to have enough time to be able to address some of the things. I don't know if you're able to see the comments, but we do have some people that are commenting. Please make it harder for Republicans who are on the front lines fighting for change in these cities. Oh, I was like, oh, he said, plus it makes it harder. Okay.
Yeah.
Then we have another, we need support. We need to support Black conservatives in deep blue areas. So people are definitely on board with supporting your efforts. And that's the
No.
only way we can turn blue red. Maxine Waters is a disgrace, urging Black people to be aggressive like she did during the George Floyd trial. I'm glad they didn't listen. What are your thoughts about that? Like, one of the things that I really don't get with some of these, establishment Democratic, Congress, people in Congress, is they talk cash shit about the problems of Black people. And like we said, you were in a position of power.
Yeah.
You're elected to resolve problems. Like, why isn't that ever called out? I don't feel like it's
Um,
called out in a way that really resonates to people that this person is not doing their freaking job.
I've been on that "I told you so" for a very long time about almost every single issue that's going on right now. I've been like, "I told you so, I told you so, I told you so." But people don't like to listen until the bat falls on them. We've been saying that. We've been telling the community, they've been in disbelief, but since we've been highlighting it, now people are actually watching Maxine Waters, right? And you see her actions, because she's so out of touch. You see her actions not reflect what it is that the people want. And I'll tell you this: I went down to Minneapolis after George Floyd died because Angela Stanton King was like, "If you're a real conservative leader and you care about the Black community, come down here and help us stop this violence." So my campaign and I brought Major Williams down there and a few other people. We went down there. I even brought a guy from the community. He's not even conservative, but he rides on us all the time as a liberal, so he could see what we do. And we were instrumental in ensuring that George Floyd and other cops were charged, by making moves, talking to this mayor, to talk to that mayor, to talk to the attorney general, to talk to the governor of that state, to get some things moving as far as charging these people. Instrumental in holding demonstrations and doing a march similar to what Dr. King did to stop the violence. We actually marched like 8 miles and took over every single protest that was going on, violent or not. That's where you hear that thing, Joe Collins March or Black Lives Matter. That's a bunch of BS. But as we had our demonstration, we were taking over large rallies and they were following us. They called us the Cali Boys, and people were just excited to see that somebody cared about their issues and we were actually doing something about it. And
Maj
the
Turek
rioting
did that
stopped.
too. Was Maj out
Yeah,
there too?
he was out there the day before us.
Okay, because
Yep,
I
he was
know
out
he
there the
had
day
a
before
Black
us.
Guns Matter booth set up right in the heart of the Black Lives Matter protest, and he was actually educating people about conservatism, Second Amendment rights, and all that stuff. So I applaud you guys. I wish I would have known that. I'm still trying to get Angela Stanton King to connect with her because I love her. I think she's so real, and I think when I think about the Republican Party, and we're running out of time, but I just want to say this. I feel like the Republican Party props up the wrong Black faces every time. I don't know if that is calculated, but it seems like they are dead set on finding Black people that does not resonate with other Black people.
Yeah. Well, you gotta talk about the level of comfortability, right? You don't want to get that person who's cynical or that person who talks against what they feel should be president in a black community. Get the people who are going to tell them what they want to hear, saying like, "Oh, we do got black people," and it's
Okay.
really not the case. And within the conservative Republican movement, we also got to understand that even when it comes to Black Lives Matter, every time it's a protest and somebody has a Black Lives Matter sign, that's not Black Lives Matter, the organization. And I think that people get those two confused. They get
Yes.
average people with Black Lives Matter shirt or a sign, and they say, "Oh, it's Black Lives Matter, it's Black Lives Matter." And these people wouldn't know Black Lives Matter beat them just as Antifa did during this whole entire year and a half, because they have not been to the inner cities. They have not been boots on the ground to experience these type of things. And so it's just a lot of misinformation going out from these, the talking faces, and they like to turn a lot of people away. But at the end of the day, like the Bible says, the truth will set you free, and it'll come to the light. And that's what's happening right now. That's why you see the push to try to destroy some of our characters, try to destroy what they perceive as our careers, which is not. Campaigning is not my career. It's not Kim's or anybody else's career. Um, but the "I told you so" is, like I said, it's coming back. These people are not resonating. And we talk to people, we're like, we already know she doesn't resonate with you guys. We already
Hmm.
know she doesn't resonate with the black community. That's why you see Blexit chapters failing across the United States. They're losing money. I mean, even to that extent, even if they paid the people, because we've seen their tax returns, even if Blexit paid their chapter leaders a great salary, I think Blexit would be more apt to move forward and actually want to get in a fight. But since the top two people in Blexit are getting paid $250,000, or everybody else is getting crumbs dropped on them, of course the organization is going to fold. Nobody want to be a part of a grift. So you know,
Well, Blackset really has a weird mission, anyways. I mean, it's not a sustainable mission, really,
mm,
because I mean, it's party politics at the end of the day, and black people aren't stupid. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And like you said, we can't be sitting up. I push black conservatism. I do not push black republicanism. You know what I mean?
hmm,
Conservatism is a set of values that I think would be valuable for every single black person in this country. But I am not a Republican or a Democrat. I personally believe that black people should be politically neutral, only voting for their representatives on solid policies and deliveries, and nothing
yeah,
more. It's not a popularity contest or none of that stuff. Just what can you say what you're gonna do and do it. I if you're working in manufacturing, they have this whole standard called ISO, right? Say what you're gonna do it, measure how you did, and then continuously improve. The United States and Congress, we're not ISOing in enough, and I think that's the problem. But Joe, we're coming up on our time. I really appreciate you joining me. I want to have you back, to be honest
for
with you,
sure.
because I've been talking a lot about inner city gangs and a lot
Oh,
of the influences about on these young brothers. And I've been on the FCC, you know what I mean? Because I feel like they allow this gang culture music to just be all over the airways out here in Detroit. You go, you listen to our radios, stations, and they're playing gang affiliated artists, and I feel like that's really playing with the brothers' mind. So I would love to have you back to have a conversation again.
yeah, that's cool. I can't speak on Detroit. Detroit's a whole nother beast. One of my buddies live out there, and he just told me like within a 2 night time span, you guys had over 100 shootings and 17 people was killed and 4 people was in the hospital. I mean, that's just
That's
California is
that
bad, but I
Chicago
think
drill culture, though. Chicago drill culture is moving into Detroit, and I think it's really interesting because drill music and drill culture started in the UK. So I don't
mm,
know how that culture started being implanted in a lot of these cities, because even Atlanta was not as hot as it is right now.
yeah,
So we got definitely some issues going on in inner cities, but we're gonna wrap it up again, Joe, another time, because I love having you on there. This was a great conversation. Everyone, if you want to learn more about Joe Collins, Joe, what would be the best way for people to learn more about this awesome congressional candidate running? He running against Maxine Waters, y'all, and y'all really, I definitely encourage people to get to know this brother and support him, because we need to get some of these districts flipped. And if we can't flip them, we still need to make the impact to get people to make better voting decisions. So, how
yes.
can people reach you, Joe?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Also, it was a really pleasure, really great speaking with you. My website is joecollins4congress.com. You can follow me on every single social media platform at Joe E. Collins 3.
Okay, and what is that again? I'm going to just put it in the chat so people can. You said Joe
Yep, joecollins4congress.com.
Collins. Is it the word for?
Yeah, it's all spelled out. Try to keep it as simple as possible.
Okay, so that's Joe Collins for Congress.com. I just put it in the chat for everyone if you want to reach out, get to know Joe a little bit more. Thank you so much, Joe, for joining this discussion, and you have a wonderful day. I said I was going to get you out of here by 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, so I'm living up to my word. So you have a wonderful day.
All right, you as well. Peace.
Bye. Everyone, thank you so much for joining into that discussion. I really appreciate you. I hope that you found some insights. Those of you who just joined, we were having a conversation because there's a lot of discussion about whether or not to support candidates that run in districts that are deep blue or deep red. Joe Collins is one of those individuals who is making the effort in a deep blue district in California to flip that district or at least make traction so that to get these people thinking, differently about their political decisions. Obviously, when you look at District 43 in California, it looks like shit. It looks like any other Democratic ran predominant district where you have an establishment representative that continuously is reelected and doing nothing for those people. And I think that Joe is making the effort to really get people to start thinking about the individuals who are representing you. This cannot be a popularity contest when these decisions that these people are making impacts your life to the degree that they do. So much support and success. Tiff, thank you so much for joining in. Like I said, I hope this conversation was insightful. If you missed most of the conversation, please catch it on the replay, and I will catch you all on the next one. You have a wonderful evening. Thank you, Tiff. Thank you, Sal. Hello, my friend. And thank you, Marshall. As always, you're like my number one supporter, and I love you so much. You guys have a good day or evening. Bye.